In today's video, I'm gonna show you a tool which is, in my opinion, completely underrated when it comes down to creating a specific look. And without this tool, it would be a bit difficult to create this look in this image here. So let me show you how. And by the way, as always, you can download the raw file, first link in the description, so you can follow along step by step, or just sit back, grab a coffee like I have right now, and just watch me edit this image. Alright, we have this image here. It's a Eurasian chaffinch, and this is a big vignette because I used, let me show you, my APS-C lens on my full frame sensor on my Sony a7 III, the 55 to 210 millimeter, all the way to 210 millimeter, the shutter speed and the f-stop and the ISO. So I could use the crop mode on my Sony a7 III, but most of the times I'm not gonna press the button to use the crop mode because I'm gonna crop it either way in Lightroom. So first things first, I'm gonna press I to get rid of the details here, and then I'm gonna crop it. We're gonna go with a 16:9 crop. It's a heavy crop, I know, but we have a bunch of pixels to work with, so that's fine. I'm gonna rotate it a bit to get a bit of a stylized look here. Okay. And now, before I'm gonna do anything, I just wanna make sure the exposure is right and the temperature. So let's go into the basics here. Let's play with the temp first. It's a bit cool. That's totally fine because we have orange parts here, but I can see a hint of a purple tint. I'm the dopest MC around here, so I'm gonna increase the greens here a bit. Let's leave it like that. And I'm gonna introduce a bit more coolness to it, just a tiny bit. Okay, let's go into the exposure. I'm gonna up the exposure. Everything sits in the midtones, roughly in the midtones, which is pretty good in this image, but I can see, I think I overexposed it here, but that's totally fine. So I brought up the exposure. Now I'm gonna decrease the highlights, up the shadows a bit, up the whites, and I'm looking at my histogram. I don't wanna clip everything right at the beginning. So as you can see here, something is clipped and it's this part here. So let's dial it back. Just a tiny bit. We can always go back and as well as use the tone curve to get a bit more of the exposure right. So we have that, and now the clarity, I'm gonna dial it back a bit to get a bit more of a softer look, and afterwards we can sharpen the bird, so that's totally fine. I could use the denoise, but for this image I'm not gonna use it because I'm gonna add some grain at the very end. So we have the basics done. And now let's head into the color mixer. And in most of my images, you know me, I love to desaturate every color. That's what we are doing right now. Desaturate everything to have a bit of a vision, because I always have a vision in mind when taking the photo or watching it on my camera at the spot, and I'm thinking like, bam, I'm gonna edit it this way. So my vision is to have a deep orange on the bird, or like reddish orange on the bird part, and in the background a bit of a green blue tint. So for that, I know we have those mainly two colors, so I'm gonna up the orange here, on 0, and the blues. Okay, that's all I'm doing right now on 0. Now I'm going to the hues here, and on the blue, I like it a bit more teal green. I'm gonna go full ham real quick here because we're gonna use this tool that I'm gonna show you in a second. So with the orange, I want a deep reddish orangey look, so let's say here. With the leaves, I'm not gonna touch anything, I'm just gonna leave it here, okay? Let's go straight into the masking tools here, and I'm gonna use a bunch of masks here. So the first one will be a background mask. So let's click on background, and it didn't do anything. So let's just delete it, it's totally fine. We can do that manually with the object, and I'm gonna brush over our bird. That's good, and I'm gonna hit on plus because I want this branch as well. So I'm gonna select the branch here as well with the plus sign. And now I should have the branch and the bird, perfect. And now I can just right click on this mask here, and since I want the background, I'm gonna go with duplicate and invert this mask. And now I only have the background. That's perfect. And with the background, I want to shape my light. And the way I want to shape my light is a bit dramatic in this one, because there are lots of leaves, lots of branches, the light is spreading around, and that's why we can create a more dramatic look instead of a harsh sunlight and a normal environment on the streets outside. So with that, I'm gonna right click on this mask here and intersect it with a linear gradient. I want some shadows coming up from the bottom part here. And I'm mainly focusing as well on the bird, because as you can see, if I'm zooming in, the bird is dark here. So I can emphasize that by dragging the linear gradient from this part upwards and pulling down the exposure. And now I could go something like that, but then it kind of looks a bit weird with the branch. So I'm gonna go a bit subtle here, because I can then grab another linear gradient, so a new mask, and it goes over the branch as well. So I have a bit of the branch, but more on the background. I'm gonna leave it like that. I can always go back to the masks here. And with the background mask, I need another background mask, so I'm gonna go with the first mask we created and go with duplicate and invert, so I don't have to do everything again. So I have the background again, and I want another linear gradient, a darker part again. This one here went from the lower right corner to the upper left. And with this one here, we're gonna go more horizontal and lower the exposure a bit, because now I'm gonna go with another linear gradient, just like we did earlier, and it will go above the branch as well. And with this one here, with the lower one, I think it's the second one, yeah, I'm gonna create a bit more darkness on the upper right part as well. And now I want another background mask. I'm gonna duplicate and invert it, and I'm gonna highlight it, so up the brightness with intersecting and a radial gradient, because I want the light to hit here. I already simulated it by doing the linear gradients here, so you already know where I want the light to hit, but I'm gonna emphasize it even more by creating this mask here, down the contrast a bit, down the clarity, and the dehaze. I'm gonna leave it here, and I'm gonna up the brightness just a tiny bit. I'm gonna use one more mask to bring the overall exposure together for the background, or like for how the sun is hitting the scene. So I'm gonna go with a normal radial gradient here, and I'm gonna go over the brightest part here that I have added, and then I'm gonna invert it because I want to affect everything else here. Zoom out here a bit, okay? And now I'm gonna pull down the exposure just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna increase the bright part here. Which one was it? This one here. I'm gonna increase it, up the whites. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that now. Let's head on to the bird with another mask. We're gonna brighten up the bird a bit, select object. We could use this mask here at the bottom, and you know what, let's just use it, because I think I'm gonna use two masks for the bird. I'm gonna up the exposure a bit, up the shadows a bit. As you can see, the feathers on this bird are like orangey, but I don't want the body to be orange, even though now I know it's not natural because I'm like manipulating the colors in the bird, but hey, that's my vision. So I'm gonna pull down the temp, make it cool, and pull down the saturation here to have a grayish tone, okay? I'm gonna leave it here, and now I'm gonna intersect this one with a brush, and I'm brushing over the part that I want the bird to have gray feathers, and it's this part here, because now the head is popping out even more. Okay, I really like that. Now I'm gonna go with a object mask here, only the bird, not the branch. And I'm gonna brighten the bird a bit up, add a bit more sharpness to it, up the exposure a bit, up the whites. Get rid of the highlights here a tiny bit, so down with the highlights here, up the shadows. I'm gonna add a bit more clarity. If I'm gonna go full ham and then dial it back a bit, I always do that. Add sharpness to it. one last brush and then I'm gonna show you the tool that I'm talking about, okay? Because I haven't told you yet and we're what, 8 minutes in or 10 minutes. I'm brushing over it and add a bit more warmth and brightness. Okay, and now I'm gonna show you the tool because I want the background to have a specific color, and if I'm gonna show you on the color mixer, I can only go that far or that far because the blues are sitting behind, okay? I really love that blue. Since I have used the mask for the bird, which I intended to leave it in there to show you the tool, that was my bad. I have already used it, so I have to do it again. So I'm gonna try and select everything here. Ooh, that was a bit too much, but let's see. Hopefully it detects everything without having to add another mask. Oh, it did, let's go, okay. Now we can just duplicate and invert it. And now the tool that I'm talking about, it's this one here at the bottom of the color tab. If I'm gonna click here, then I can just color pick whatever color I want. So I want a greenish blue color. So I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna pull down the saturation to, let's say, 50%. And now I can go back into the color mixer and play with the blues here because the color is still in there, okay? It's still in there. And I want it to be really, really subtle in the background, really subtle. Let's go minus. Okay, that's the green that I added in and I'm gonna go back to it. I want to have it a bit more blue. And now let's go into the saturation to the blue, increase the saturation. There's no blues in the leaves here in the background, as you can see. So if I'm gonna go all the way to 0, the color that I have added in the color picker tool or in the color tool, I have also added into the leaves because it's in the background. As you know, or if not now you know, the greens, the grass, the leaves are almost always sitting in the yellows. So if I'm gonna increase the yellows, look what happens. Now the leaves are turning back to the original color. So I'm gonna leave it at 0 at first and I'm playing with the hues here. I'm gonna leave it here and then dial back the saturation. And that's the look that I want to go for. Let's see a before and after. I already edited this image, I think a few months ago. So I didn't have to like before and after every single step. So let's do the before and after. Before and after, a huge difference. And now one thing left and it's to add a bit of grain. I'm gonna zoom in here onto my birdie bird. Boom, add a bit grain, not that much because we still have noise in it. I could go into the noise removal tool, remove the noise and then add grain, but either way, if I'm gonna use grain and it has some noise in it, I'm just gonna slap a bit of grain on top of it. Alright, and that's that. The tool that I wanted to show you was the color tool where you can pick any color you want and then change, for example, in this case here, the background to have a specific color that you can work off of and yeah, create your own mood. So if this video was helpful, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'm gonna do more POV photography videos like I did in Cologne, for example, more Lightroom tutorials. I'm gonna stick more towards the photography side of things because that's what I really am passionate about and that's what I want to help you with to level up your photography and editing game. So with that being said, I'm gonna catch you in the next one.